Hey guys, it's Aman
and Christina
from Our Rich Journey. A lot of you have been reaching out to us asking us about buying a house in Portugal. You have had questions about whether or not we are going to buy a house here in Lisbon or somewhere else in Portugal. Well, in this video, and actually a series of videos, we are going to be walking you through our house buying process, step by step. In fact, this series is going to document our journey towards buying a house here in Portugal.
So if you're new to our channel is all about making money, saving money, and investing money on the road to financial independence. And we reached financial independence last year, and we retired early before the age of 40, and we retired here in Lisbon, Portugal. So we have been living here in Portugal for almost 1 year, and throughout that year we have been renting. But as we've been renting, we've also been diligently researching the home buying process here in Portugal, because our ultimate plan is to purchase a home here in Portugal. So this will be a step-by-step series of buying a home in Portugal. And for this first video today, we are going to talk about all of the things you should know before you even consider buying a home in Portugal. Now, in other future videos, we'll also discuss the paperwork you'll need to purchase a home, working with agents, how to find a property, inspecting a property, how to make an offer, setting up utilities, maintaining your property, and everything in between.
Now, if you've been following our channel, you know that we love to bring you along for the ride. And that's exactly what this series is going to be all about. By bringing you along for the ride, you are going to see what it's like to actually go through the home buying process here in Portugal. Now, you don't have to wait for all of these videos to be released. You can also follow our journey along on Instagram. You see, we post almost every day on Instagram about our life here in Portugal. So you can follow us at Rich Journey, and we'll leave a link in the description below.
Now, like we said earlier, our channel is all about making money, saving money, and investing money on the road to financial independence, but we also have a component on our channel related to Portugal. So we're developing an interest list if you're interested solely in Portugal and learning more about Portugal, like the schools in Portugal, of course, how to buy a house in Portugal, getting a driver's license, getting your visa, those types of things.
Healthcare in Portugal.
So if you're interested in that, we'll also leave a link below where you can sign up for our interest list, where we can send you more information about Portugal.
Now, without further ado, let's talk about everything you should do and know before buying a home in Portugal. So the first thing you should do is visit Portugal. A lot of people will research Portugal and see different aspects about the country online, but nothing is better than coming to visit this country. It's an amazing country, and we have absolutely no complaints. We really feel that it's the perfect place to be, but it may not be that way for everyone else. So it's important, before you really start to dig deep into buying a home here in Portugal, you must come and visit it.
And you don't just want to come once. Come many times throughout the year. Come during the different seasons and really understand the weather, the climate, the people, everything that Portugal has to offer, so you know if Portugal is the right place for you. Now, when you come to Portugal, one of the important things that we advise that you should do is to visit homes. Visit many different homes, do home tours, and also look at all of the different neighborhoods that you're interested in living in. Because once you start to visit those neighborhoods more, you may find certain quirks about them that you don't like, or you may find certain things that you really like about particular neighborhoods. So it's a good idea to get a feel for different neighborhoods by visiting homes in those neighborhoods. Now, when we first came, we rented, and we definitely recommend renting before you buy, because by renting and really living in the area that you're interested in, you'll get to learn more about the neighborhood and really determine whether that's a place that you want to buy a home in.
Now, the next thing you should know is recognize that buying real estate in Portugal is not going to be like buying real estate in your home country. So we're from the US, and in the United States, there's a system called the Multiple Listing Service. And that system is a central database of all the real estate that is available and that is being sold by real estate agents. You see, here in Portugal, there is not one central database that lists all of the properties that are being sold by real estate agents. In fact, most real estate agents only list the homes that they are selling on their real estate websites or databases. Now, for a lot of foreigners, when they start their search for properties in Portugal, they love to use a site called idealista.pt. Now, idealista.pt, it's a fine site, but it's really a lead generating site. You see, real estate agents put listings on that site so that you contact them and then you make a connection with them. I mean, they're real listings, but the information may not be up to date. It may not even be complete. So this is something to keep in mind, that when you are doing your online research for real estate here in Portugal, you will not be seeing it all. Now, in our upcoming videos, we are going to talk to you guys more about how to search and find good properties. And a lot of it does not involve Idealista, but we're going to save that for a future video.
And the next thing that you should know is that agents typically will not take you seriously if you have not come to Portugal to meet with them or if you don't live here already. So a lot of times foreigners are interested in Portugal and they start reaching out to agents to try and help them identify properties. But agents have to use their time wisely. If they're dealing with someone that's overseas that hasn't really made a connection with them and is just having them do busy work such as finding multiple properties over and over or even visiting properties for them, they want to make sure that you are committed to buying a property. And if you don't live here already in Portugal or if you haven't met with them personally, they're not going to be too invested with you until you do that.
Now this brings us to the next thing that you should know about buying property here in Portugal, is that when you work with a real estate agent exclusively, these agents tend to only want to show you properties that belong to their company. So if you're working with Remax or Century 21, they prefer to show you properties that are only listed with their companies. Now there are some real estate agents and real estate companies that will show you properties that are listed at other companies, but you need to ask your real estate agent that up front.
Now, because agents typically like to show their own properties, if you are looking on websites for properties, you'll find that most of these properties exclude or omit the actual address of the property. And that's so the agent can retain that information and not have it go out to other agents for them to show the property. This is a way for the agent to really maintain control over the showing of the property. And because that agent has all of that control, it's not unusual in Portugal to have the buyer agent and the seller agent be the same person. So that's something you really have to take into account when you're buying property in Portugal.
The next thing you should consider when buying property here is buying a property directly from the owner. Now this is quite common here in Portugal. You can drive around and you can see for sale by owner signs on many properties. And in a way, you may even be able to get a better deal. But there are risks involved when you buy directly from the owner.
Now, yes, there is risk from buying from an owner, and yes, there's also risk from using the same seller and buyer agent. And because of this, we have our next point, which is to hire a lawyer to help you through the process. So the lawyer will do the due diligence checks for you on the property. They'll check the legal status of the property. They'll make sure that it has a habitation license, which is required here in Portugal. They'll make sure the property is free of mortgage and tax debts, which gets carried over to the new property owner. So you want to make sure there are no debts on the property. And the lawyer will also check planning permissions if you want to do future builds on the property, or if you want to build, for example, a swimming pool on the property. A lawyer is very helpful for all of these things.
Now, if you're accustomed to buying property in the US, a lot of this due diligence is done by the agent when the property goes through escrow. Well, that is not the case here in Portugal. There isn't really an escrow equivalent service here. Now, there are some similar services here in Portugal, like a notary is a part of the process here, where the notary verifies different documents that are included in the sale of the property. But it is still very important to get a lawyer involved when you're buying a property here in Portugal. We are getting one involved, and we're going to talk more about it in future videos when we're talking about making your offer, inspecting the property, and everything else that goes along with the sale of the property.
Now, another thing you want to keep in mind is that when you are looking at properties, the list price is very rarely ever the sale price. It is very common for the sale price to be much lower than the price that is listed. And that's why it's so important, again, to really do your due diligence and look at all of the different properties, research properties in the area, and also come to Portugal and really discover what there is in terms of real estate here.
And we're going to talk about this in upcoming videos when we're talking about our home buying purchase. But we have noticed that a list price versus a sale price can be a 20 to 40% difference.
Now, the next thing to keep in mind is that you have to be prepared for this process to move slowly. When you are buying a house, it can move very, very slowly because you have to make sure you're verifying all of the documents that you get from the seller. And if the seller doesn't have all the documents, they have to go to the city to get the documents, and that can take even longer. So you have to be prepared for a potentially slow process.
In some cases, homes are built and then the documentation is gotten after the fact. And in those situations where everything may be fine with the property owner and the city have to recreate those documents from scratch. We've heard of stories of home purchase processes taking up to a year because documentation is missing.
Now, I will say, if you are buying a house and you're paying cash for a house and the seller has all the documents and your lawyer is very diligent about researching and looking into all the documents, you can close very quickly. You can close within a matter of weeks, or even in some cases within a matter of days.
Now, because the amount of time it takes to close on a purchase can vary significantly, it's important to also consider exchange rates. Let's say you're buying your home and you are using US dollars. Well, what you get in euros is very important. It could mean a 10 to 15% difference in what your money can buy. So it is very important to also consider what your dollars are going to be worth in euros when you go to buy a home here. And our last point, and we really want to emphasize this, is that when you buy a home here in Portugal, expect to have it for the long term. You see, homes here in Portugal do not sell very fast. And if you are a real estate investor and you're coming to Portugal to flip homes, do not expect to flip homes like you do in the US. Homes sit on the market here in Portugal for a very long time. And I'll give you an example of what we mean. When we lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, we flipped 3 homes in a relatively short amount of time. Well, here in Portugal, we would not make that same type of investment. We wouldn't be looking to buy a home, fix it up, renovate it, flip it, and turn a profit in a quick amount of time. Our approach here is a buy and hold strategy. So keep that in mind when you're looking for homes here in Portugal, especially if you're a real estate investor. If you are going to be flipping homes here, you better do your research, because the way homes move in the market here is not at the same rate that they may move where you're from. So those are our tips of things that you should know before you start looking for a home here in Portugal. Now, we are gonna have a lot more to share with you in upcoming videos. And we want you guys to leave your comments below of questions that you want us to address in those videos. Also, remember to follow us on Instagram, where you can follow our daily life here in Lisbon and our travels throughout Portugal. And again, go to our website and sign up for that interest list. And as usual, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and join the journey.